66% of Americans have had coffee within the last day.
On your website, you bring up often about the idea of, since the pandemic, people are making more coffee at home. And that's literally, at the time, me and my girlfriend, my then girlfriend, that's during the pandemic, we made coffee every single morning. It became part of keeping our life somewhat routine. And what I quickly realized was she, at some point in her life, worked at a coffee shop I never had. And so it turns out there's a lot of wrong ways to grind brew coffee that I just wasn't aware of. I was probably doing a C- job. And she got a kick out of that. And she definitely started trying to teach me to be a better coffee maker. So am I alone, or is that a common thing of not doing your grinding and brewing correctly? And if that is a common thing, can you just walk us through step by step the best way to grind and brew your coffee?
Yeah. So and I say this to a lot of people, is the single largest improvement in the freshness of your coffee is by grinding your beans at home. So that's the first thing. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people buy ground coffee. Ground coffee, because it's in smaller particles, tends to deteriorate very quickly. So you lose, if you're buying ground coffee, you're not enjoying the best of what coffee can be. So grinding at home, first of all, we recommend a burr grinder. The other type of grinder is a blade grinder, which is a cheap type grinder that you can, which does not do as well as a burr grinder. Burr grinder is just basically gears that better grind up the coffee. So first of all, it's the type of grinder. First of all, get a burr grinder. The second thing is you want to match your grind type to how you're brewing. So there's different levels, which is basically how fine or how coarse you want the coffee. And so, for example, if you're doing a French press, you want to have a coarse grind. And so there's a French press setting on most grinders, or to dial in to get to that coarse grind. The opposite spectrum is an espresso grind. It's almost like sand, very fine sand. So you want to, if you had coarse coffee and an espresso maker, you'd have a bad cup of coffee. And the opposite too. So if you had a French press where you're using espresso ground coffee, you would not have a good tasting coffee. A lot of it has to do with the extraction and the, this is the chemistry behind coffee, the extraction and the type of hold on one second, my light just turned off there. The extraction of coffee to water. That's why you want to match the grind type. And then in the middle of that would be like a traditional drip grind, which most people have, which is a medium coarseness of a grind type. And that works best with pour overs or a drip grind.
And the other thing that makes a ton of sense, but I didn't really put two and two together, is how much, once you buy the equipment, you're saving quite a bit of money by doing this all at home. And can you help somebody who, so many people have their daily routine of stopping by a certain coffee shop, buying their $4, $5, $6 coffee, and that's just part of life. Is there anything there to elaborate on as far as helping somebody understand, not just, it sounds like they're going to get a lot more value and quality out of doing it at home, but from a money and a budget point of view, how much can they save doing this?
Oh yeah, savings are a cup of coffee outside can cost anywhere between, depending upon where you get it, between $3 to $6 for a regular cup of coffee. You could drop that down a lot less to probably like 50 cents per cup of coffee, and sometimes even less than that. Plus, you're also controlling the actual flavor of that coffee in your selection process of the type of coffee that you're doing. But the savings is actually very great. In fact, I'm going to do real quickly here. So if you know, just a typical bag that we sell is has 42 cups of coffee. That's 43 cents a cup.
Wow.
Right there. So, you know, 42 cents, you know, or 43 cents compared to, you know, $5 or $3, you know, that's a big savings right there. And then you're also controlling, you know, how hot it is and how fresh it is.
Absolutely. You may know this already. I'm wondering aloud right now, the average coffee drinker, you know, just right down the middle, how many cups do you think they have a day? Is there a pretty common assumption out there? Or is it all over the board?
Yeah, it is all over the board, but the average is about between 1 to 2 cups of coffee. And I just read this morning in the Wall Street Journal. 66% of Americans have had coffee within the last day.
Wow. So that's a lot of people who may or may not be having it correctly and may or may not be overpaying by several dollars for that cup. And they may or may not be enjoying that cup because they may be missing out on flavor that they're not even aware of.
Yep, that's true.